Okay, so here's a quick breakdown on some different ways to play the chords on the mandolin. So the most basic one is our G chord, right? Our open G chord, where we're using our second finger and the third fret on the E string and our first finger and the second fret on the A string. Right, that gives us a G, a D, a B, and another G. Now we can add a third finger to that up here on the G note, which is 5th fret in the D string. That gives us a little more of a chord, or we can do this 4th finger up here, right, which is also giving us that D note, which is the 7th fret on the G string. This gives us a closed G shape, meaning that we're covering all 4 of the strings with our 4 fingers. Now, if we have a G chord here and we move it to the middle string, so we move it down a string, right? We're moving from playing our bass chord on the E and A string. Now we're going to be playing those on the A and D string. Our third finger moves up to the G string. This is a C chord, right? Which is the 4 chord of G. So if our 1 chord is down here on the bottom like this, our 4 chord is always the one right above it. So if that's our 4 chord, we can just shift it towards the body of the mandolin, 2 frets, right, which raises it a whole step because each fret is a half step. So we would have a C chord. If we go up 2 frets, it's our D chord, which in the key of G is our 5. So we can always play our 1 chord here, which in this case is G. We can go to our 4 chord and then shift up to our 5 chord, back to our 1 chord. Now, as long as you're playing all 4 fingers and have a closed chord, by the way, when we go to this middle chord, I'm just not playing the E string, right? So it's still theoretically a closed chord. As long as you do that, you can move this around. So you can move the whole shape up the neck 2 frets, which would give us the key of A. Okay, your 4 chord is still the one right above it, and you shift up for your 5 chord. If we wanted to go up to B flat, we could do the same thing. So anytime you're using this shape of chord, whatever note this third finger is playing, okay, is going to be the root of the chord. So in this case, it's a G, right? We have it 5th fret on the D string, which is our G note. If we move it up, it's playing the C note. If we move it up, D note. So whatever note that finger is playing is going to be the root of your chord. So one other explanation of this chord is if we want to start with it in the middle, right? So say we're in the key of D. If this is our 1 chord, the chord right below it, right? If we move this from playing on the D and A string, we move down to the A and E string. That's our A chord, which in the key of D is the 5, right? So if our 1 is here, our 5 is there, which means that we have to shift towards the headstock. We have to lower it a whole step to get our 4, which in this case would be G. So if your 1 chord is in the middle, 4, 5, 1. 1, 4, 5, 1. So it's kind of this little triangle, right? We're starting here and then dropping down and then coming back up and then straight up. The other way, we started here, went up, and then came like that. So it's sort of the inverse triangle. Now, there's another way to play closed chords that we can move around that's really easy, and that's using this first finger as sort of a movable capo. So let's stay with that D chord for a second. These 2 notes are staying the same, but now we're going to play them with our ring finger and our 4th finger, and my first finger is going to act as this capo back here in the 2nd fret on the G string. Okay, so I'm playing an A note, I have my F sharp, and then I have my D. Again, I'm just not playing that bottom string. So, okay, down here is still my G, and then to play my A, like just from there, I would move these 2 fingers down to the A and E string, right? So that's A, this is D, that's G. Okay, this is a really handy shape. Say we wanted to be in the key of A, okay? So we've taken the G shape, we've moved it up a whole step, 2 frets, and we're putting our first finger back here to act as that capo. And I'm mainly just playing the first finger on the G string. I can play the first finger on the D string if I want to, but that's the more important note, right? That's the root of the chord. So this is an A, my D's right there, and then I can shift it up for my E. The other nice thing about playing with a bar is with this shape, if we want to make this a minor chord, right? This is an A major. To make it a minor, this note is our 3rd scale degree, and all we do is drop it down a fret. So our second finger's right there. We can play an A minor chord. Try to make it very visible to the camera there. Major, minor, major. Now if we want to do a 7th, we can use that second finger on the E string. Right, we can play a 7th chord there. So we can have major, minor, 7th. Plus we can play 4s. We can do the same thing, minor, 7th. So you can play pretty much every chord you need on the mandolin using just that one shape and then putting this first finger back here as a bar and moving it all over the neck. All right, some basic chords.